The morning of September 11th, 2001, that Tuesday morning, I remember I had gone for a run. I came home, ate a banana, and was sick to my stomach and knew that that never happens. It just felt like something was wrong, and that's when we turned on the TV and saw that at that point the second plane had hit the tower in the World Trade Center. And didn't think much about it, but I called work because I'd gotten ready a little more slowly than usual because I wasn't feeling well, and just said I'm going to be a little late because we'd had an 8 o'clock meeting that morning. And while I was driving in from Centerville to Salt Lake City, where I worked at the time, heard on the radio that a plane had also hit the Pentagon. And at that point I remember calling my wife Camille and saying, a plane's just hit the Pentagon. I'm glad Brady is working the night shift, because her brother Brady Howell was working at the Pentagon. And she said, actually, he got changed to the day shift this week, and he was there. And throughout the rest of that day, we were on pins and needles. And I remember about 1 o'clock in the afternoon, we hadn't heard anything, and I went home, and Camille's parents, who lived in St. George at the time, happened to be driving up for a family gathering. Brady and his wife Liz were planning to come to Utah later that week, and we knew that afternoon nobody had heard from Brady. Nobody had been able to contact anyone that knew anything, and everybody was getting pretty desperate and distraught, and just kind of realizing what was transpiring, that as every minute passed, that chances were that he was one of the victims. And as it turns out, he worked for the Chief of Naval Intelligence in the Naval Intelligence Plot, and their entire team of 7 people had been gathered around a table. They hurried into a small boardroom and were beginning to try to process everything, because it was their job to be able to brief the leaders of the Navy. He was a civilian, but had just received a top secret clearance and was working there after attending graduate school. And all 7 of his crew members were just lost instantly. They were in direct impact of where the plane had hit the building there. And that wasn't confirmed. We were notified by Navy that he was first amongst those who were missing. He was, like I said, he was married at the time, and his wife was back there alone. All the planes were grounded, but my mother and father-in-law were able to, through a connection of a family friend and a corporate jet, be able to take a private flight out to DC. And then Camille, my wife, was on one of the first commercial flights that went, I think, on Thursday, so just a couple days later, as soon as the plane started flying again. And so she was right there across from the Pentagon for the couple of days, meeting with all the families at one of the big hotels there in Crystal City, where they would get briefings 2 or 3 times a day. All the family members just waiting and trying to process the imminent loss that they were expecting, but not knowing when it would be confirmed. And after Brady had been found and identified and confirmed that he was dead, we kind of, all of the family, were able to go back and be there in Washington, D.C., where they had some memorial services for him there, and in Sugar City, Idaho, later, where he grew up. But it was a surreal experience to be in our nation's capital at that time, seeing tanks literally in the streets, and armed patrolmen everywhere across the mall, from the Capitol to the White House and the Lincoln Memorial and the Pentagon. And to have that personal loss in our family of someone we're all very close to, but at this, as we reflected on that and saw how much people came together during the turmoil, and there was so much uncertainty at the time, as everything happened so fast on September 11th, we wondered every day when the next attack was coming, because it seemed like we were totally caught off guard and very susceptible. But as we came together as a family to process that, as we saw a tremendous outpouring of support from neighbors, loved ones, friends of Brady's, young and old, it kind of gave us all hope, even in the face of such tragedy, that a hope in humanity and a hope that we'd be able to pull together and get through this. And I think it was amazing the way that we all did as a community, as a country, at that time. And I think about that when we have difficulties now and challenges and really strong opposition to each other over philosophical or political or other challenges, and just wonder what it takes for us to come together and have that united hope again. And while it can be frustrating and challenging, I know that that's there and that we're capable of that. And so as I think about September 11th, I remember Brady, who was younger than me, but a great and inspiring example to me in many ways, because he was chasing his dreams. He had written a letter to President Reagan when he was 8 years old, saying that he was at his service and would be willing to go. And he had been a big Encyclopedia Brown fan and wanted to do undercover work for the government. So he was pursuing a dream, and did so with a lot of passion and vigor. And so I think of him on September 11th, but I also think of the way that we came together and know that there's hope that we can always come together and address problems as a society.